Uh, okay. So excited to have you all here. I just wanted to remind everyone that we do have interpretation into French available today. So please go to the interpretation button and choose your language. And then hopefully you should be able to hear it in your chosen, your chosen preference. Okay, so why are we here? So it's a real pleasure to welcome you to the launch of Social Entrepreneurs for Sustainable Development, aka SESDev's new strategic plan. And to have so many of the partners, colleagues, and friends with us for this important moment. So, before we get into the details and we begin, I'd like to take a moment to introduce SESDev, not just as an organization, but as a team and a set of values that I think like many of us in this room today, in the Zoom room today, have come to deeply respect. Um, and so when I first started exploring community-led conservation in Liberia, I've forgotten to introduce myself, of course. So I'm Salisha from Maliasili. I lead our strategic initiatives. And as I was saying, when I first started to exploring community-led conservation in Liberia, I kept on hearing an echo, right? Or a drum beat. SESDev, SESDev, SESDev. People spoke about them with a kind of confidence. They described this organization that would show up consistently, right? That stands with the communities consistently, does that hard, often invisible work around governance and rights, especially for women as well. And as one partner shared when we were kind of exploring what work we could do, they said in SESDev, the individuals are their strength. And we have today Daniel and Mina here, as well as I hope Convention and Helen. Just make sure you introduce yourselves in the chat, and you'll get to know them a little bit better, but that's who we have from SESDev today. And so when I had a chance to meet the team, to meet Mina, Daniel, Helen, Convention, what I found was exactly what I'd been hearing. This incredible conviction, this clarity of purpose that they bring to their work, that communities should not just be consulted, but they should be leading. They should be in the driver's seat. I also saw how they built trust, like brick by brick, right? Often going where no one else would go. And, Mina says that to me often. We go where no one goes. We go. Um, that SESDev even stays the course when it's difficult. And they also do it with an elegance and grace that keeps all of the sides, everyone on side. So it's an incredible journey, and one I hope, we'll learn more about today and will inspire most of us here today. Because today marks that important moment for SESDev, an inflection point, some might say. Because their new strategic plan reflects these years of commitment, of learning, of staying the course, but it also sets a clear path for what comes next. And I'm really excited for them to share that with us. So enough from me. Let's hear it from the SESDev team themselves. Daniel, I'd love to start with you.
Yes.
Yeah, Karibu. So like take us back, ground us. The early days. What was happening at that time? What made you feel that SESDev, that there was a need for a SESDev? What were communities going through that called to you?
Uh, Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Daniel Kriku. I work for Social Entrepreneurs for Sustainable Development. And I've been doing this work for the past 18 years now and ongoing. Uh, SESDev was founded in 2009, but got certificated in 2011. At the time SESDev was founded, the government of Liberia was eagerly trying to get the economy back on track, and they started attracting whole lots of foreign direct investment, particularly in the oil palm sector. And for the fact that lands in Africa are cheap, and Liberia was no exception. So And then oil palm concession started operations in 2010 in Sino County, uh, particularly Golden Beryllium and Maryland Oil Palm Company in the other counties there. And by then, the contracts that were being negotiated were not in the community favor. They never met the free, prior, and informed consent of local communities. And those companies were operating without community participation in the decision-making process relative to the land, the resources that were on the land. So as a result, there was an urgent need for civil society organizations to support communities in the Southeast, owing to the fact that the Southeast being one of the most difficult parts of Liberia to work with. And that gave birth to SESDev in particular to support those communities to defend their rights, to defend their livelihood against those, particularly golden beryllium that was operating in the southeast of Liberia. So particularly that what gave rise to SESDev to protect, to support communities to protect their rights against the spread of monoculture oil palm plantation.
Yeah, thanks for that, Daniel. And yeah, I can hear the passion coming through your voice.
Yeah.
But what has the journey been like since those early days, building SESDev with the communities? What is a moment or some moments that have really stayed with you through that journey?
For the fact that those communities never have information relating to the concession that was operating on their land. So we decided we begin to provide the necessary tool, the necessary information that will equip communities to hold those companies, to the company accountable on what the rights are. Initially, it was kind of difficult because the issue about jobs creation was the strategy that was being portrayed in those communities. But the community then realized that the jobs the company were offering were not sufficient towards sustaining their livelihood, and the community start to use those informations that we provided to them, the capacity building training that we provided to hold those companies accountable and on how to respect their rights. That was a key movement and for the success there in particular for the rights of the communities, because the community began to empower and decided to use those information to hold companies accountable. Yeah.
That's pretty hard work, man. That's not easy holding, communities holding corporations to account, especially in those kind of industries. It's admirable the work that you're doing. And I'm wondering, what would you say is some of the toughest challenges that you've encountered along the way, and what has really inspired SESDev to keep going?
The southeast of Liberia is the most difficult part of Liberia to travel with via road. And getting to the southeast, at the time we started the journey, it was like 10 to 15 hours to reach to one community. That was one of the issue. And the issue about the political control is central around the local authorities. So the local authorities have profound influence in and the decision-making process within the hinterland of Liberia. And as such, most of the decisions that were taken were being influenced by those the superintendent, if the superintendent, which the superintendent, the city major of a particular town or district, and it was very, very, very difficult at the time for communities to come together to organize themselves. And because of that undue political influence being exercised by those local authorities, and it was very difficult beginning for our work.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember you telling us your story of how you actually get there and, what inspires you to keep going. It's pretty incredible.
Yes, and yes, indeed, we have been doing this work for a good number, over a decade plus, and for the fact that, like I earlier stated, for the fact that the little information that we were able to provide to the communities for communities to realize what their rights are, even before the passage of the Land Right Act. But communities didn't realize their right. They realized their right to free, prior, and informed consent. They realized their right to self-determination. And those were all international legal instruments that we use to help community people to understand what their rights were, and they decided to use those informations. It was very, very, very important in our journey, and that have reached us to where we are today. And had it not been for what we have done, those communities' livelihood wouldn't have been existing. So it keeps me going for the fact that community lands now legislation are being drafted, which of course that protect community rights. But before then, these we it was very, very interesting for communities to understand what those rights are and decide to use those information to protect their rights.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing those insights with us.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you so much. And now I would love to invite Mina to take over and share with us, uh, yeah, SESDev's new strategic plan.
Yes. Thank you so much, Daniel, for grounding us in the story of SESDev, where we came from and why and why we exist. I remember those days the roads were so tough. Vehicles were stuck on the road and there is no way we could cross. We have to sleep sometimes on the road. Particularly when you go into Lofa Vahu district where we're working, we have to pass through Sierra Leone because now the road leading from Liberia is so ugly that we cannot pass through there. So yes, we have faced so many challenges. My name is Mina Bien. I am the programs director at SESDev, and I've been working with SESDev, supporting this work for over 12 years now. What I want to do now is to take that story one step further by showing what that commitment has produced on the ground over the past 15 years and why it matters in Liberia's context today. Liberia, as you might be aware, is one of the most diverse biodiverse countries in West Africa that holds about 40% of the Upper Guinean forest block. And we have about 6.6 million hectares of forest cover. We also, the whole country covers about 11.1 million hectares in total, but we have over 9.6 million hectares of land, of which about 70 to 80% is held under customary tenure. Why this is so important? It is so important. This statistic is very important because these overlaps, there seems to be some overlaps between customary land, concessions, forests, and proposed protected areas that intersect with the livelihoods of communities. It will also interest you to know that Liberia has one of the most progressive land and forest laws on the continent. But what do we see? We see a lot of weak enforcement, limited government capacity, unchecked private sector activity, and growing pressures from conservation, carbon markets, and extractive industries that continue to leave most rural communities vulnerable. And our strategy also makes that clear that there is that gap between the law and the realities on the ground, and that it's so wide. And since our founding in 2009, SESDev has worked alongside with rural communities. We have been listening, we have been informing, we have been organizing and helping them claim their land rights. And within this period, we have supported about 31 self-identified communities through Liberia's land formalization process under the Land Rights Act policy and the 2008 Land Rights Act. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is not some short-term work. Like I said, it represents our 15 years of commitment working alongside communities through complex, often difficult processes to secure what is rightfully theirs. And like Daniel described a moment ago, we have gone through a lot of challenges to come where we are. And one of the clearest examples of this challenge and our response came in when we have one of our big conservation organizations prepare. That time they were preparing to gazette one of the 10 proposed protected areas, and they were doing this with limited community consultation. And so at that time, SESDev stepped in. We stepped in not to oppose conservation, but to insist that conservation must respect people. And so we invoked the Land Rights Act and the principles of FPIC, and we insisted that protected areas are not legally protected areas until due process is completed. And that resulted in safeguarding nearly 1 million hectares of customary land. Even more importantly, this case set a national precedent that land formalization must come before protected area gazettement or creation. And that became more effective when our government, the Land Authority, and the Forest Development Authority signed an MOU to ensure this happens. And today, this stands as a very powerful example of right-based conservation in Liberia. Next slide, please. Our strategy also recognized that community action alone is not enough, and that systems must change. And so our work doesn't stop at the community level, but SESDev plays that critical role in shaping some of the Liberia's most land and natural resource reforms. This includes the passage of the Land Rights Act in 2008, which was recognized as one of the most progressive land laws. We have also influenced the National Oil Palm Strategy and the national interpretation of the Roundtable of Sustainable Palm Oil. And also, we supported the development of the national FPIC guidelines that we have today. Yeah. So how we came about this, we used evidences that were generated from the field to inform our engagement in all these reform processes. We have also advanced some level of gender justice in land rights, because we believe that impact is not just about laws, it is about who benefits from them. And so based on this, we have another structural problem that our strategy highlighted is confronting this entrenched gender inequality. And so through sustained legal literacy and community engagement, SESDev supported 17 women in Vanhu District in Lofa County to secure customary land titles. And now these women are participating fully in land governance, and they are cultivating high-value crops that were previously reserved for men. And this is exactly the kind of systemic change our strategy seeks to scale, because this is not just about land, like I said before, it's about dignity, it's about voice, and it's about opportunity. We have also strengthened community governance and accountability. Next slide, please. And the strategic plan makes it clear that rights are only meaningful if communities have systems to exercise them. And secure land rights must be matched with strong local governance. And so that's why SESDev has supported the establishment of 31 land governance committees. We have trained 45 community monitors and introduced community-based monitoring tools to them for real-time forest and land monitoring. We have also helped them develop land governance tools such as FPIC, protocols, land use plans, community bylaws, and community forest management plans. And these structures are now resolving disputes locally, they are monitoring violations, and they are holding powerful actors accountable. I can also tell you that we have linked rights to livelihood, because our strategy also recognizes that land security must translate into better lives, because we believe that land rights alone are not enough if we cannot earn a living from the land. And based on that, SESDev has supported sustainable livelihood by providing technical trainings and tools to communities, and most especially to women, to enhance their livelihood so that communities can benefit economically without destroying their environment. I have shared these achievements from the perspective of SESDev, but the real measure of impact is how this works on the ground and how this work has changed the lives of people that we work with. And so I would like to invite Mr. Nyan Flomo, one of our community leaders from Ba Community Forest, to share what SESDev's work has meant for their community.
Okay, thank you to everyone on this platform and to every one of you. And thank you to Madam Lena Bien, who have been so instrumental to us in the management of our community forest. For a bit of introduction, my name is Nyan Flomo. I'm the Executive Committee Chair for the Ba Community Forest Management Team. Before them, our forest was founded in 2011, where the rights of men, the rights of youth and women were limited, and only the national government used to make decisions when it comes to the forest matters. But the coming of SESDev to us in 2020 have lifted our knowledge, our rights, and today we can argue, we can engage the national government for our rights to be heard. And now the coming of SESDev have improved the participations of women into the land usage and also the forest protection and the national beneficiary from the forest products. So all of those things are great achievement that SESDev have done for us. And they have empowered us with the knowledge of the rights and the beneficiary mechanism put in place, the monitoring of the biodiversity species that are in the forest, We are being trained on that through GPS, compass, and other equipment that make our work very much professionals. So our forest is under conservation with the help of SEDEX and 8 partners in progress. And now what I've improved in our community, women can now participate and they know the importance of the forest and they are benefiting out of it through decision making, using the forest as a means of livelihood, not only for farming, as a means of a long-term livelihood benefits. And if we in the leadership from the communities, we are also being acknowledged on our role and responsibility how to engage stakeholders so that our right can be here in any national decision making. Again, we were also trained on the agroforestry activities. Not the forest is not only meant for farming, but you can also introduce an agro business that you will be generating income from while the forest remain under protection. So we are venturing a lot on that, and women are dominating in our forest when it comes to national decision making and the benefits of our forest. So when it comes to power monitoring, a lot of activities, agroforestry, cocoa are being established. They are being given to community dwellers who were massively destroying the forest, are being given to them for their livelihood benefits. And some of them are now depending on it. While we stay and wait, because it was just few, but while we stay and wait to go across the the entire community, because we have 24 communities that are managing the back community forest. And we in the leadership role, like I said, we are being trained on our role and responsibilities in the governance structure in the committee that have been set up. We are also being trained how to engage our national stakeholders and local authority that our rights in the forest is protected. Our right in the forest should benefit us for national development and our livelihood. So these are some of the works that SESDev have been doing with us for the last 5 years. And we're still hoping upon them. They are our partners in progress. I think you can see my background. I'm sitting in one of the forest community on the campus where we have a lot of beautiful trees and other places. So our life, when it comes to the forest management and the rights are being improved with the help of SEDEX coming into our forest, into our community since 2020 up to present. So I want to say thank you. If you have any other questions, because it's enough. If you have any other questions about what SEDEX has done, I may not explain all, but I'm ready to answer most of the questions so that you can get the benefit of the doubt. Thank you, Alma.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nyan, for that powerful reflection. What you've just heard is exactly why SESDev is launching this strategic plan for 2026 to 2030 today. The plan is our response to what we have learned over the 15 years of practice, building directly on the achievements that you all have heard today and the realities that communities continue to face, and taking them further with more communities, deeper partnerships, and greater impact. And I want to start outlining our next chapter with the most important questions that I know is on everybody's mind. Why do we need a new strategy now? It will interest you to know that, as I mentioned earlier on, progressive laws exist, but weak institutions, extractive pressures, and climate risks still shut communities out of their own land. And our strategy is designed to confront these realities head on. So the strategy begins with clarity about the future we are working towards. Next slide, please. Our vision is simple, but at the same time, very big. A Liberia where customary communities thrive with secure land rights, fair benefits, and sustainably managed forests, living in harmony with nature and with each other. This vision is not only about protection, but it's about dignity. It's about fairness and communities as leaders, not bystanders, in decision-making that shape their own lives. So how do we get there? As SESDev, we believe that if communities, especially women, are fully informed, engaged, organized, and supported, and if government institutions engage more capably, and if the private sector is held accountable, then communities can drive solutions that improve their livelihoods, manage natural resources sustainably, and shape their own futures. And to put this in action, we are focusing our priorities on 4 pillars of work. First is that we strengthen communities' rights and inclusive resource governance, making sure people have clear information, inclusive structures, and safe spaces where every voice, especially women, counts. Second is that we invest in collaborative influencing, because no single organization can solve this alone. Coalition help ensure community voices shape national decisions. Third, we deepen government engagement. And fourth, we promote sustainable livelihood so communities can benefit fairly from their land and resources while protecting nature. These pillars come together in a very 3 clear goals, and that is what we will deliver by 2030. Next slide, please. Our first goal borders around government institutions engaging more effectively with communities so that right processes are supported and not stalled. So we will first strengthen how government institutions engage with communities. And that means that we're supporting better implementation of land laws, land and forest laws, improving consultation processes, and ensuring that policies work in practice, not just on paper. Our second goal, next slide, please, borders around communities being informed, empowered, and resilient with inclusive decision-making and the ability to manage land and resources sustainably. This is the heart of our work. And the work is just to deepen community empowerment. And so we will do that by deepening legal literacy, strengthening governance systems, expanding women's leadership, and supporting livelihoods that protect both forests and people. So that by 2030, communities will be legally informed, they will be governance ready and equipped to manage their land and natural resources sustainably. And I want you to note that this is just about shifting power so communities can they can lead decisions about their own future. Our third goal is strengthening SESDev itself, because scaling impact requires that we invest in stronger system. It requires that we must invest in stronger governance, And it also requires that we must invest in stronger communications and stronger partnerships. And so we will strengthen from all these angles, expanding our team, improving our systems, and diversify funding. This is about growing responsibly in terms of accountability, in terms of sustainability, and long-term impact without losing our community roots. We want to be very clear here. We cannot achieve all these goals alone because this plan is built on partnership. And so the strategy doubles down on principles we have learned over time, that power must be shared. And so we will deepen partnership with communities, we'll strengthen collaboration with key agencies involved in land and governance, resource governance. We will work with civil society coalitions to influence policy and accountability. And where appropriate, we will mediate with ethical private sectors to support fair agreements rooted in community priorities. And with all these partnerships, we are ready to expand our reach. Over the next 5 years, SESDev want to expand its work to 9 counties. Currently, we are within 4 counties. But like I said, scaling is not just going bigger, but it is going deeper while protecting the quality, trust, and accountability. Our aim in all this, next slide, please. Our aim in all this is to ensure that by 2030, all 9 counties have communities that are legally informed, governance ready, benefiting fairly, and actively managing their lands and forests. What excites us is that this strategy is rooted in what we now know works, that communities are leading. And we are excited to expand women leadership. We are excited to strengthen local governance and helping to make the right-based conservation a standard, not the exception. And internally, we are excited to strengthen our foundation, like I mentioned earlier on, so we remain a trusted ally as we grow. And on that note, I want to reiterate that none of this is possible without partnerships. To our funders and partners, especially Forest People's Program, Right and Resources Initiatives, Semipool Foundation, and Acus Foundation, thank you so much for standing with us through uncertainty and challenges. Thank you for your continued trust and support. Your investment has helped turn policy into protection and rights into reality. And to everyone here today, this strategy is an invitation to join SESDev in scaling what works, strengthening what matters, and ensuring that Liberia's future is shaped by those who depend on its land the most. We look forward to working this next chapter with you all because we believe that together we can turn rights into reality. Thank you so much for your attention. And I would like to invite our board member, Jacob Hilton, to share a brief reflection on why this strategy matters and what it would take to achieve. Over
Thank
to you.
Thank you, Semina. Thanks to everybody, and on behalf of the board, I wish to say thanks to everybody for the time, effort, and resources to ensure that SESDev have a strategy plan and to be able to implement the strategic plan. It's a long journey. Especially as a reflection of me when you play the team music, kapow, meaning let's come together and build a nation. Let's stand together to defend our land. So it's collective work that makes it the way it is today. You know, when you make a reflection, sometimes we all work in the landscape, but I'm very, very proud of the SESDev team and the support the donors I continue to give them. It's not it's a journey, especially fighting a multinational, at the same time fighting a state to ensure that our community have a seat at the table to discuss and talk about their life. It's not a small journey, but I think I appreciate everybody and the SESDev team. I know this strategic plan is not just a plan that will be living on the shelf, but it's a plan that is in the head to roll it out. And with the support of the board and the panel, we ensure that SESDev will scale up and will follow the strategic plan to ensure that it makes impacts into our work. And look at the national level, SESDev are more proactive, involving, engaging stakeholders with current context or situation changing, bringing back to some of the issues that are involving what government approaches, and said that in all the discussion, they are one of the NGO that I must say thanks to. They are make sure that all the areas that is untouched, they reach to the remote community, empower the community, give them a seat at the table to discuss about the life and about the future of naturalism and the government. It's not an easy thing, but I know they have been very proactive, engaging government at the national level and at the policy level. So I say thanks to everybody who took the time, who conducted an interview, who make sure that SESDev is vibrant today at the national level. Let's continue to support them both morally, financially, to ensure that the dream come to reality. And the strategy plan is there, but most of it is that the plan guide you. And beside the plan, you also have to look at some of the emerging issues. So on behalf of the board and the rest of the team, Mina and the SESDev team, and our donors, thanks so much to ensure that the plan is there. The board will assure you that we ensure that we work with the team and have a very in-house discussion on the plan. How do we roll out the plan and ensure that our community people receive some of the plan that we have printed so they know that the kind of impact the work that SESDev have taken through with the land right law, with the forest governance issues, right now the new emerging issues on carbon market, some of the issues are involving and SESDev are more active in some of the discussion. So it's not easy journey, but again, when I drove by the FPP those days, when the tough time, the road caught you in the car, sleeping in the mud, but it's not easy. It's collective work that make up a team. So I say thanks to everybody to ensure that the effort and the time you did to have the plan be printed out, be rolled out, and be implemented. So I say thanks to the team and the donor.
Great. Thank you so much for all of that. That was super inspirational, right? From listening to Daniel talk about the journey of SESDev to Mina sharing the strategic plan and hearing from Chief Nyan about the whole how that has played out in reality in the Ba community forest. So we'd love to invite questions. And I think we have two questions. I see one. I don't see the second one, but like Mina, and maybe Daniel can also join us here. One of the things that has happened in the last year, is the whole thing with USAID, right? The USAID cuts, and they've been pretty massive. And USAID is behind a lot of, the land formalization processes and the proposed PAs. So I think Katie was asking, and she wanted to hear a little bit more about like how has that impacted your work, and how has that impacted the process of those land formalizations around proposed protected areas? I don't know who wants to start. Either of you can answer. Mina? Daniel? Oh, Daniel's frozen. Maybe Mina?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Daniel, go on.
Let me start. Thanks, Kitty, for that brilliant question.
We might have lost him again.
Yeah, I don't hear either. But let me take this, and probably he will come in later. Yes, the USAID cut really affected our work. In one of the areas that they were supporting SESDev in implementing customary land formalization process with the communities. They supported us to a point where we were developing, supporting them to develop their land governance structures and their governance, their bylaws, their community bylaws. And so this actually affected us because they were from a large, I mean, we had a large communities that we were working with. We were working with about 15 self-identified communities, which also means that we have different sub-communities within these 15 self-identified communities. And it just stopped. So we were fortunate then to have ACUS Foundation supporting us, strengthening land governance system within part of the location that we were working. And so we just concentrated on that part for the time being. And then we're still struggling to be able to go to the other end of the work because we have not received any support to continue the work over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Just to add
Oh,
on,
great.
yes, I'm back. Just to add on what Bina say, because of the drawdown of USAID funding, the 15 communities that we were supporting, and we have only been able to maintain 3 communities in the Sesta-Sakwe landscape due to funding cut. And we had other fundings from like we were doing rights-based conservation in the Sesta-Sakwe area and other funding from Forest Peoples Program. Instead of expanding our tactical to support other communities, we just decided to use the resources from the various the donors to support these communities towards a land formalization process, while at the same time we're doing rights-based conservation in the Sesta-Sakwe belt. But that's out of 50 communities, that's only 3 communities we are supporting. So as there are still challenges that remain to support these other communities because they are being targeted by external land-based investors. So the threats are still there and are still implication for other communities that are not being supported currently.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Daniel and Mina. It's the reality of the work that you're doing and how it's affected by, these shifts. We have 2 more questions. One is from your experience. This is from Julie. What does it really take for community voices to not just be heard, but to genuinely influence land and forest governance decisions at a national level in Liberia? It's a big question.
Yes, it is. But I will tell you, we have experienced this on the ground. I remember those days when we were trying to have the Land Right Act in place. To have the Land Right Act enacted, we realized that there were so many issues from the ground, right? And communities felt that their land or they were squatters on their own land. And when we began to explain to them, although you own this land, but it's not legally recognized, they said, okay, but then can we own our land? Can our voices be heard? Because there were so many issues associated with that, especially in areas where there were all palm concessions. People felt the need that, for example, there is in a concession agreement of some of the all palm companies, they are paying surface rental fees to government. only because during that time, the government perceived land to be government property. Meanwhile, communities feel that the land is for them. They have stood or they have lived on that land for centuries. And so we pushed at the national level, and it was not taken. It was not taken, although rights were recognized, customary land rights were recognized, but they didn't take the fact that all those concessions that happen on customary land and government is taking surface rental fees should go to local communities. And so they said, yes, we recognize your rights, but all previous concessions are not affected by this land right law, right? So that is a typical example. So we'll continue to push, but sometimes you will have some part of it recognized. And for us, the big thing was for customary land rights to be recognized, and it did. But then we will continue to work stand with our local communities to portray and advocate for this service land rental to go back to communities, because that is their land. And yeah, and I leave for Daniel to add on, if any.
No, I mean, I think you hit the point. I think it's okay for my end.
Yeah, thanks. There are lots of questions flowing in, and I think maybe we might need to be a little bit briefer so that we can round out the hour. But the next question that is here is, what are the strategic steps or mechanisms that SESDev intends to follow to ensure that goal number one is achieved in this time frame? And I remember all the debates we had about this with
Exactly.
yes. So I'm sure
Exactly.
you can share.
So what happens is that, and we've been doing this already. So like we said, we are scaling this impact. So for example, last year or two, we took the land National Bureau of Concession, because they don't have the resources. That's a reality. They don't have the resources to go on the ground to interact with the local communities. And so we took it upon ourselves through the support of RRI to take this duty bearers on the ground to witness firsthand what is happening to local communities. And that made a huge difference. And so we will continue. We have, on countless occasions, we have supported the land authority officials to go on the ground to interact with our communities when we were supporting them through land formalization processes. And so we will continue these processes. We have I can also tell you, on countless number of occasions, we supported a dialogue between the forest communities and the forest development authorities, where we did it on the ground with local communities so that we have maximum participation. So that is something that we already do and we want to continue to do. I also saw a question, maybe I will just try to answer, or I saw a question on, maybe Celicia, you can help me.
Yes,
My
yeah, I
it's
will help
flipping.
you. I will help you. I think we're just going to take this one last question, and then we'll keep the other questions and we will respond to them with the email that we'll send out with the webinar and all these things to everyone who's here.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. So this one last question is from, yeah, here it is. It's also from, I think, Timur from AUKUS. Yeah. So he really loved hearing about, the plans for expansion and, how you're going to maintain your values and centering around trust and accountability. And he wants to hear how are you going to balance? And this is the classic thing with all growing organizations and organizations that are scaling impact, like the urgency of what's happening with the threats with how you grow sustainably and yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so like we said, SESDev, it's very small at this moment. And we want to increase our team members, right? And then we know like some of these areas where investment is happening, be in conservation, be it logging, be it agricultural investment. It happens in these areas that people often don't go. Mining activities are happening in these areas that people don't go. So we want to expand into these areas like we did in Sino County, like we have been doing with the Bar Community Forest, to be able, especially we're talking about Bapulu, we're talking about county, Cape Mau County, we're talking about River G, where now we have people destroying forests, converting the forest for cocoa plantations and all that, to help them to understand what our law says. And like we said, bringing these duty bearers to them on the ground to ensure that they understand this properly. They have that dialogue to be able to express themselves and support in understanding what communities really feel on the ground. So we're going to tackle it at all fronts. It might not just be the entire county, but we strategize to look at areas where communities are already feeling the impact and areas that we are hoping to see some level of investment going on, so that we can support these communities to understand their self-determination, to understand that whatever they do needs to come from a right-based approach. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I think as we wrap up, I leave it to both of you to just say a final word to everyone who's been with us this evening and on this journey that we've gone through and where we're going as SESDev.
Yeah, from me, I want to thank everybody here today. We appreciate your time for being with us, and we know that you will continue to support through partnership for us to achieve this by 2030. So thank you all for coming. We're looking forward to hearing from you from now onwards.
Like Megan says, I want also to say thank to everyone for taking up their time and giving us the audience to launch this strategic plan. I think the next step here is to share the strategic plan with each and everyone, final copy of the strategic plan, that which we will work with Amalia Silly to do. And we're looking forward, we are open to collaboration towards us, the implementation of this strategic plan. Thank you.
And the last for me, I want to appreciate all the Maliasili team for supporting us because yes, we've been working, but we have not focused so much on putting all these things together into our strategic plan. And they supported us, they did this for us, they guided us through all this process and to where we are now. So we appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Bravo to the Maliasili team.
Thank you, guys. It's all you. We are here because of you. So good night, everyone, or good afternoon, or happy brunch time, maybe. And see you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Limier, y pas